the upcoming Independence Day celebrations. Brenda Wanga has those details.
Nearly a month after Tanzania went to the polls that ended up in a disputed victory for Samia Suluhu and the killings, detention and disappearances of hundreds of civilians, the heat from that election is now spreading to the International Criminal Court. The Madrid Bar Association, the Human Rights Institute, the World Jurists Association and Intel Watch have petitioned the ICC in The Hague to open a formal investigation into the events that took place in the country before and after elections. According to the petition, Tanzanian security forces have murdered thousands of civilians, subjected hundreds to enforced disappearances, tortured thousands in detention facilities, committed sexual violence against detainees, forcibly displaced tens of thousands of people, and employed cyber-enabled repression affecting millions. The Tanzanian elections held at the tail end of October this year were marked by violent protests, destruction of property and loss of lives as well as injuries. Civilians stand out in the streets in various towns across the country to protest the elections where Samia Suluhu was seeking her first elected term as president. State security agencies pressed down on protesters in what many observer missions reports say resulted in the targeted killings of hundreds of Tanzanian civilians. It is these alleged atrocities that the petitioners want investigated, and they are also urging the ICC to extend the probe as far back as 2016 to cover earlier violations against Tanzanian civilians. The petitioner, lawyer Juan Carlos Guterres, acting as a victim's legal representative, says President Samia Suluhu Hassan, as commander-in-chief, bears the ultimate responsibility for the crimes, having explicitly authorized violence against civilians. The Suluhu administration is also feeling the pressure as the U.S. Senate Foreign Relations Committee has called for an immediate independent investigation into the killings of civilians by security agents in that country. In the meantime, the government of Tanzania has cancelled the upcoming Independence Day celebrations.
Hakutakuwa na sherehe za kuadhimisha hiyo Desemba na gharama ya fedha ambazo zilikuwa zitumike kwenye sherehe ameelekeza ziende kutengeneza miundombinu hii iliyoharibika.
The cancellation comes as intense mobilization for a planned protest by citizens on the same day continued online. In the meantime, the government has begun releasing some of the over 300 people who were arrested and charged with treason during the elections. Brenda Wanga, Citizen TV.
All right, let's get into matters by elections. And former Deputy President and DCP party leader Rigathi Gachagua is demanding the immediate resignation of the Inspector General of Police, Douglas Kanja, accusing him of enabling what he calls state-sponsored violence during his campaign rally in Narok Town on Monday. He's also written to IEBC chairperson Erastus Edung Ethekon, alleging a plot involving plainclothes police and hired goons to intimidate DCP polling agents and block his candidate from the tallying center. With that report is Willie Lusige.
A day after chaos erupted in Narok Town during Rigathi Gachagua's visit to drum up support for his Democratic for Citizens Party candidate Douglas Masikonde, Gachagua is now escalating his claims, accusing Inspector General of Police Douglas Kanja of presiding over state-sponsored violence and demanding his immediate resignation. He says Monday effort to disrupt his campaign activities. He alleges that Kanja ordered police and militia groups to use live ammunition, lob tear gas canisters, and violently disrupt his meeting while he campaigned for the DCP candidate in the Narok Town ward by-election. Gachagua further accuses Kanja of persistent negligence, stating that he has repeatedly written to him about state-sponsored violence, militia activities, and what he describes as unspeakable attacks against him, including assassination attempts on his life and his supporters, with no credit credible action taken. In another letter to IEBC chairperson Erastus Ethekon, Gachagua alleges a plot to use plainclothes officers and militia groups to harass and intimidate DCP polling agents and to block both the chief agent and Masikonde from accessing the tallying center. Claims he says point to an attempt to rig the by-election. He further alleges plans to instigate ethnic tensions in the ward, demanding assurance from IEBC that police officers and what he calls state-sponsored militias will not take over polling stations or the Narok Town tallying center to force the announcement of a predetermined winner. Gachagua warns that any violence witnessed during the Narok ward by-election will confirm, in his view, that the IEBC chair is compromised and unfit to oversee the 2027 general election. The heated contest pieced the ruling United Democratic Alliance candidate Robert Kanyinge Olekudate against Gachagua's DCP candidate Douglas Masikonde, setting the stage for a politically charged mini-poll. Willie Lusige, Citizen TV.
Vocal Africa Group says its preliminary findings on the upcoming mini-polls has established that the political climate surrounding the November 27th by-elections has been characterized by electoral malpractice. Addressing the media at its headquarters in Nairobi, the Human Rights and Pro-Democracy Organization raised a red flag on what it terms as an upsurge in electoral-related violence, open bribery and involvement of state officers in partisan campaigns, warning that if left unchecked, the practices threaten the credibility of the by-elections. With that report is Seth Olale.
A survey by Vocal Africa Group, a national human rights and pro-democracy centered organization, is warning that political tension has escalated in areas where by-elections are scheduled on Thursday, November 27th. The preliminary findings of the upcoming mini-polls conducted by the group indicates an upsurge in electoral violence, misuse of state resources by incumbent political actors, active involvement of state officers in partisan campaigns, weak enforcement of electoral laws, open bribery and intimidation of voters and opposing candidates, slow and inconsistent response by security actors.
As we present these preliminary findings, we do so with deep concern and a sense of responsibility to alert Kenyans, electoral stakeholders, and the international community of emerging patterns that risk undermining the freeness, fairness, and credibility of the upcoming polls.
In a bid to strengthen electoral integrity, secure peaceful participation, and restore public confidence in the upcoming by-elections, Vocal Africa Group wants the National Police Service to enhance security deployment in Kasipul and Mbeere North, ensure rapid response on electoral-related incidents, investigate all acts of violence without favor or political interference, and arrest and prosecute perpetrators. IEBC urged to consider disqualifying candidates violating electoral rules, enforce strict penalties against public officers engaging in partisan campaigns, and strengthen coordination with security agencies.
We hope that our work of collecting evidence and presenting it to the relevant authorities will not be an exercise in futility. We will expect that that evidence is acted upon and that the necessary disciplinary action is taken so as to deter these occurrences in future elections, particularly the 2027 elections.
Vocal Africa Group warning that if left unchecked, the practices threaten the credibility of the by-elections. Seth Olale, Citizen TV.
Wiper Party leader Kalonzo Musyoka claims the Independent Electoral and Boundary Secretariat has extended the ballot printing contract by Smartmatic International. According to Kalonzo, the move is against the National Dialogue Committee report, that being NADCO. The Wiper Patriotic Front leader is accusing IEBC CEO Hussein Marjan of pushing for the technology company to be awarded the contract.
Kina Smartmatic hawa na wale wengine otimofo, nilitangulia kusema kwamba chini ya ulinzi wa huyo CEO aitwa Marjan, CEO wa ABC, ambaye mimi nilikuwa katika NADCO, kumbukeni NADCO committee, pamoja na mjumbe wa hapa Malindi, tulikuwa pamoja wanachama, na tulirecommend huyu mtu Marjan hatua yake asije akakaribia 2027 CEO. Lakini kabla hata hii tume mpya kujua vipi wanaendelea, yeye tayari amefanya direct procurement, extend contract ya hii kampuni inaitwa Smartmatic, ambao hata walikatili uamuzi wa mahakama kuu, kumbukeni that time, kufungua open the server, walikataa. Hao wamepatiwa idhini extension up to 2026, I believe.
All right, it's time to hear from our team on the ground. And as I mentioned, we have Stephen Leto in Baringo. We have Francis Mtalaki in Magarini. We have Laura Otieno in Ugunja. We have Gatete Njoroge in Kasipul. We have Melita Oletenges in Malava. Anybody I have left out? Yes. And how can I forget Mbeere North? We have Emmanuel too in Mbeere North. But we begin in Baringo. Stephen Leto, campaigns ended yesterday evening, 48 hours to the mini poll. What was happening today?
Good evening, Olive. Indeed, from Baringo, 8 polling stations have been submerged by floods here in Baringo, affecting thousands of voters. And now the IBC says it has to gazette alternative polling stations for those that are in Mokutani ward as well as Ilchamus ward in Baringo South constituency, because the floods, the Lake Bogoria and Lake Baringo have break their banks and now flooded and submerged the polling stations. We crisscrossed those parts and filed the following report. This is supposed to be one of the polling stations in Baringo South, submerged. This is another one. The entire school is flooded as waters from Lake Bogoria and Lake Baringo spilled over to the mainland, submerging schools, homes and hotels.
We have about 8 polling stations allowed Lake Baringo in Baringo South, which have been affected by floods. And that means that the citizens who are voting in this by-election may not be able to access those particular polling stations.
The situation is dire. Crocodiles and hippos rule the fields that once hosted voters' queues.
I really would urge the citizens to not be affected by the fact that these floods. IBC is organizing to make sure that they vote in this particular by-election by gazetting a news station just next to them.
The affected polling stations that are located in Mukutani and Ilchamus wards in Baringo South include Ngambo Primary School, Lake Bogoria Secondary School, Lake Baringo Secondary School, Salabani Primary School, Sintan Primary School, Oldepe Osinya Primary School, Nosukuro Primary School, and Lesan Primary School. IBC says despite the challenges, plans have been solidified to ensure a free, fair and transparent Senate by-election in Baringo that will see 6 candidates face off.
And I want to assure them that the process will be credible, it will be transparent, it will be above board, and everybody will see what will be happening in the polling station and also at the tallying center.
The distribution of polling materials will kick off in earnest tomorrow morning, with election officials here in Baringo County insisting that all is set and every sector has been activated, from the election observers to the security system, to ensure that the Thursday poll will be smooth, fair and transparent. Stephen Leto, Citizen TV, Kabarnet Boys, Baringo Central Constituency, Baringo County.
Well, many thanks, Stephen Leto from Baringo County. Now, in Magarini constituency, the returning officer, Mr. Joseph Mafondo, has dismissed claims of any interference in the upcoming by-election in the constituency in Kilifi County. Together with the constituency elections manager, who is Musa Juma, they have warned poll officials not to engage in any electoral malpractice, saying that if found culpable, then they will face the full force of the law. Here's the report.
It's a race against time for poll officials preparing ballot boxes. Every flash of the charging light marks the completion of the polling material list ahead of the Thursday's Magarini contest. Magarini by-election returning officer Joseph Mafondo has denied claims of planned rigging and interference in the upcoming by-election. Together with Kilifi County elections manager Juma Musa, they're urging candidates to remain calm and voters to turn out in large numbers. They are warning presiding officers against meddling with the decision of the 80,128 registered voters.
But the few bad apples, too bad. Jina lako likiletwa kwangu, mimi nitasema tu weka ndani. Tutamalizana baadaye. Ni ndani tu. Hata we nani wangu. Hata we rafiki yangu. Even if you are my girlfriend, utalala ndani. Umenielewa? Hapa kazi tu, hakuna mambo mengine. Hapa ni kazi tu.
My friend, ukiwekwa pale ndani, huyu ni OCS Gongoni, si ndio? This guy is, huyu ndio OCS wa hapa. Anakushika sahihi, anakuweka pale ndani. We have reached that level. Kama wewe unaona umekuja kumsaidia certain candidate, tafadhali pole pole. Ukitoka sahihi, we have no problem with you. Utasema mimi wajua nimekula pesa, wacha nikaregeshe pesa ya watu, mtu mwingine apewe hiyo nafasi. Kwa sababu wajua ukipewa pesa, what it means you have been compromised.
The poll officials signed a contract and a code of conduct for the upcoming polls before boarding vehicles for their respective polling stations for mapping. IEBC maintains that everything is in order despite yesterday's allegations, and that preparations will be complete by Wednesday, with police assuring that security apparatus in Kilifi saying they are on high alert, working closely with the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission officers before, during and after the polls.
Musiogope, tuliwafunza, fanyeni kazi kwa mujibu wa sheria, and everything will be okay. We are not here to victimize anybody. We are here to help you, to make you understand your roles. I want you to enjoy as much as possible.
Don't take instructions from any busybodies. Tuko pamoja? The instructions will come from Mr. Mafondo.
Tutadeploy security ya kutosha kulinda uchaguzi huu mdogo wa Magarini. Tutachunga tallying center na tutachunga IEBC officials. Tutachunga pia hawa candidates wetu.
Uchaguzi huu utakuwa ni uchaguzi wenye amani, na kwamba ile results ambazo IEBC itatangaza itakuwa ni results zetu sisi sote.
After the completion of the mapping exercise, poll officials are expected to be deployed to their respective polling stations in readiness for the Thursday by-election. Francis Mtalaki, Citizen TV, Magarini, Kilifi County.
Thank you, Mtalaki. From Kasipol, imagine a group of women walking from their homes with clothes, going to this particular field where they wash their clothes with water from a shallow pan. They sun dry them, wait for them for hours, then they embark on another journey back home. It is the reality of the women living in Konyango village in central Kasipul, here in Kasipul constituency, Homa Bay County. Their problem is water. And as they head towards the elections, their biggest desire and their dream is that the next member of parliament will be able to resolve the water challenges in this particular area. And it's not just about the water challenges. We also have the challenges of the roads. We have the challenges of security, with police officers announcing that more than 900 police officers will be deployed to ensure that there is peace during the elections here in Kasipul. Here is my story. At this field in Konyango village, central Kasipul, a group of women are busy washing clothes near a former Maram extraction site, now turned into a water pan. For over a decade, this pan has served as a lifeline for locals facing persistent water challenges. Here, women wash clothes, bathe, and even use the same water to clean cooking utensils.
Tumekuwa tukisaidika na hii maji na imekuwa chafu, hii kwa maji mzuri. Tumekuwa tukilala nje tukitafuta maji mali kwingine. Jua tungeweza kutumia hii tuwezi kutumia kwa kukunywa, hatuwezi kutumia kwa kupika. Sasa inatubidi tuende mahali mbali tutafute maji tulale huko.
More astonishing is the fact that they share the same water with livestock. But it's the by-election that has reignited their dream of having piped water. The very reason they plan to wake up early on Thursday to cast their votes for the next member of parliament.
Sasa ndio tulikuwa tunaomba angetuletea maji, atusaidie na maji hata kama ni mfereji, ama tuletee hizi hizi za kuchimba maji. Sasa yenye ilishimbwa kwa mtoni kwa shule huko. So angetuletea kitu kama ya kuchimba maji, ituwekee kama pipes za kuchimba maji kwa maboma ama kwa center mahali fulani tunaweza kusaidika nayo.
Tuko na shida ya maji, barabara na stima. Tuko na giza kwa sababu tuko karibu na msituni. Fisi zinakuja, zinakula ng'ombe zetu. Tunataka stima, tukuwe na taa.
A wish shared by most residents who also want the next leader to tackle challenges of poor road network, better education facilities, and improved security.
We need a leader who will knit us together because we don't need violence. On development, we need a leader who can create job opportunity for the youths, who can create empowerment for the women.
Police have moved in to reassure residents of adequate security during the voting process.
I'm assuring you that we'll have around 900 and above police officers who will be covering this election, starting from tomorrow 2 p.m. up to when the person who will be elected will be announced.
The electoral body, as it finalizes preparations, has given a firm guarantee of a free, fair, and credible election.
We expect to do a final security briefing with the police officers tomorrow. We are also expecting the chair of IEBC at this location at some point tomorrow.
IEBC officials say distribution of election materials will start on Wednesday. With less than 48 hours to the election day, the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission says it is ready for the exercise, with police assuring of adequate security before, during, and after the polls. Gatete Njoroge, Citizen TV, Kasipul, Homa Bay County.
Well, thank you very much, Gatete, for that. And here in Mbeere North constituency, the IEBC CEO, Hussein Marjan, has been leading the preparations for that by-election, saying that the security here has been beefed up. That has triggered a reaction from the Democratic Party leader, Justin Muturi, who says there's a plan to infiltrate the election with plainclothes police officers, a situation that has been countered by Deputy President Professor Kithure Kindiki, who met agents of the UDA party here in Mbeere North, saying security will be provided by the government to ensure the election is free, fair, and credible, telling the residents to turn up in their numbers to vote, the 55,000 of them. And this is the story that we prepared today. A day after the dust settled on a heated by-election campaign, it was now the turn of the referee, the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, to take charge. IBC Chief Executive Officer Marjan Hussein Marjan convened a closed-door meeting with security agencies in Mbeere North constituency following a flurry of accusations and counter-accusations from Deputy President Professor Kithure Kindiki and former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua over alleged plans to orchestrate violence during the November 27th polls.
In particular, we had the meeting with the DCC and the other security details. They have already explained to us in terms of preparations, how they have set up the security, and I think we are comfortable in terms of how they have organized the security. I think everything is set well.
One of the reasons for which we have come here is to ensure that there is sufficient security to enable elections to go on peacefully.
The commission pledging a free and fair election in all the by-elections, urging members of the public to leave polling stations immediately after casting their ballots to allow the process to run smoothly.
Everything is actually under control, and the IBC is prepared to give this country free, fair and credible by-elections.
And I would wish to ask our voters, when you cast your vote, please accept to leave the polling stations, because that is the requirement of the law.
IBC is set to begin distributing election materials in Mbeere North on Wednesday, with the CEO clarifying the technology and voter register that will be deployed for the mini poll.
So nataka tu kutoa hofu wale ambao walikuwa wanasema ya kuwa ni register ya sijui 27. No. Hii register itatumika ni ile ya 2022. Na kwa sababu ya hivyo tuta identify watu kutumia vidole vyao pia.
Meanwhile, Democratic Party leader Justin Muturi has alleged a plot by the government to interfere with the Mbeere North by-elections by planting police officers in civilian attire to intimidate and frustrate voters on Thursday.
So we are cautioning the IEBC to tell the police, the Inspector General of Police, if indeed he wants to give extra security, all personnel must be identifiable and they must be in uniform. We will not allow a situation whereby people who are in civilian clothes purport to be security officers. We know those are Mongeke hired goons, and we have the information.
Preparations are nearing completion here in Mbeere North constituency as the electoral body conducted last-minute meetings to ensure the election will be free from violence, promising a credible, free and fair election. Emmanuel Tor, Citizen TV from Siakago Town, Mbeere North constituency, Embu County.
Well, thank you, Emmanuel Tor. And here in Ogunja constituency, 60,114 registered voters are expected to participate in the by-elections on Thursday. As of today, the preparations were heavy on the security side, where the sub-county police commander, Mr. Munuve, had indicated that they shall be ensuring adequate deployment. We also spoke to the residents who say that they are expecting that the process will be free, fair, credible, and verifiable. They are also calling on their fellow voters to exercise restraint and ensure that the exercise is peaceful up until the MP-elect shall be declared after the counting of the vote. So earlier on, we spoke to the residents as well as the security forces, and we compiled the following report.
In about 36 hours, the gates will open for residents of Ogunja in Siaya County to participate in voting for their representative in the National Assembly. As the IEBC sorted the voting materials at the Ambera Boys High School, security agencies crisscrossed the area, assuring adequate deployment ahead of the Thursday polls.
Polling stations will be covered by 2 officers each. Those 2 will be taking the care of the material and the officials. Then there are those on the ground who will be tackling those who are causing any mayhem. Yes. And we will not spare anyone. We will not spare anyone, whoever he is or she is.
At Ogunja town, residents went about their business. The clarion call, however, was for peace as well as a watertight electoral process.
Watu watoke wote, kwa maana watu wa wanasemanga hii by election, watu wengi huwa waendi. Mimi naomba watu watoke hiyo tarehe, uende uchague mtu wako ambaye roho yako ilikuwa ameshaamua, utamchagua yeye kama mbunge wako.
Security wise, vijana tukue chonjo na tukue macho.
Tusikue watu wa kutumiwa, ati mwanasiasa amekupatia pesa kidogo, unataka kufanya mambo yako hapo ya ajabu, inaleta vifo na mambo vingine.
The Ugunja parliamentary race has 10 candidates with a voter register of 60,114 people. The 67 polling centers are spread across Segomre, Sidindi, and Ugunja wards. As the clock ticks towards the kickoff of the by-elections on Thursday, security agencies in Ugunja have assured all participants of adequate deployment to oversee a smooth process. Laura Otieno, Citizen TV, in Ugunja, Siaya County.
Thank you, Laura, in Ugunja. Here in Malava, voters have asked all the 7 candidates in the race for the parliamentary seat in Malava to accept the results, whether they win or not, even as the IEBC constituency returning officer Salim Abdallah Salim has assured all the voters of a free and fair process throughout. He says every vote counts. Here now is that story. Malava constituency has been the epicenter of intense political activity in the western region. 7 candidates are battling for victory in Thursday's by-election, among them Seth Panyako of DAPK and David Ndakwa of UDA. Residents of Malava are now calling on all 7 candidates to accept the election outcome after the official close of campaigns, emphasizing that their main desire is a leader committed to development.
Naomba uchaguzi ambao utatendeka, yule MP ambaye atachakuliwa akuwe MP ambaye atatusaidia kazi vizuri. Tena tuko na shida mahali hapa forest, stima ni shida.
IPC naomba tu iwe transparent. Yani gura ifanyike ya haki na ukweli.
Nitaweza kuambia tu wakubali matokeo yenye tatokea. Ukianguka haikuangi mwisho wa maisha. Wakubali matokeo.
Final preparations by the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission IEBC included loading ballot materials into ballot boxes, as well as readying equipment such as computers, KIMS kits and solar panels for areas with electricity challenges.
Each and every vote cast to any candidate will count. Elections are going to be free, fair and credible. Take it from me, and you can take that one to the bank.
Security has been heightened, with officers patrolling various parts of Malava in the 7 wards where the election will take place. IEBC presiding officers and clerks have completed their final training.
Campaigns ended yesterday on Monday, 6 o'clock in the evening. In case there's anybody doing campaigns, it is illegal. Remember, all the candidates signed a code of conduct with us, and is still effective up to 27th.
Transportation of election materials to the 198 polling stations will take place on Wednesday. A total of 94,417 voters are expected to cast their ballots. After a fierce political campaign season, the moment of truth is drawing near for Malava residents and the 7 candidates eyeing the parliamentary seat still in the race. All eyes are set on the referee, the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, which has promised a free and fair contest for all candidates. Melita Oletenges, Citizen TV in Malava Town, Kakamega County.
I concur with Melita Oletenges. Thursday's by-election will indeed be a litmus test, not just for the IEBC, but the security agencies, as well as the political players and you, the voter. All right, we take a break on The Explainer, but as promised on the other side, we'll get some explanations from the Principal Secretary for Housing and Urban Development, Charles Hinga, on the Makongeni demolition exercise. Stay tuned. Listen.
Honorable Amos Kimomi Nyaribo, the governor of Nyamira County, now stands impeached.
Governor Amos Nyaribo is a troubled man. After a motion to remove him from office was tabled in the County Assembly on Tuesday, The motion by Bonyamatuta Ward Representative Julius Matwere was supported by 23 of 31 MCAs. The governor is accused of abusing his office and violating the law.
That even the resolution of the alternative dispute has not been attached in this response. I rest my submissions, and the governor is guilty of this crime.
Among the issues raised were running county affairs through Bunge Mashinani sessions, using the county budget to approve the appointment of Agriculture CEC, Peris Nyaboke Oroko, during those sessions against the law, among other concerns.
This is the third time or second time this issue is coming up in an impeachment motion. It's been put here probably to give it political mileage, which it lacks. It's standing on straws. It cannot be sustained.
Report on the removal of His Excellency Honorable Kimomi Nyaribo, the Governor of Nyamira County, from office by way of impeachment has now carried the day.
Governor Nyaribo has previously survived similar impeachment motions in October 2023 and September 2024. The matter now proceeds to the Senate, which will either uphold or overturn the Assembly's decision. Miriam Nyambura, Citizen TV.
The Odinga family is in mourning following the death of Beryl Achieng Odinga, the youngest sibling in the prominent political family. She passed away while undergoing treatment at Nairobi Hospital just a month after the death of her brother, former Prime Minister Raila Odinga, who died in India. Beryl Achieng Odinga led a relatively private life, focused on professional service rather than politics. She made history in Zimbabwe as the first black town clerk of Mutare, the country's third largest city. In 2020, she was appointed chairperson of the Nairobi Water and Sewerage Company. Her body was taken to the Lee Funeral Home, accompanied by several politicians, including ODM Secretary General Edwin Sifuna. Funeral arrangements will be announced by the family in due course. All right, may she rest in peace. As I promised, we're joined now by the Principal Secretary for Housing and Urban Development. Welcome to the studio. Thank you for taking the time to be here with us this evening. So we'll get right into it. The Makongeni demolitions, how long has that been in the pipeline?
What we call the Makongeni demolition is actually part of a program that we started on what is called Eastlands Regeneration, Nairobi Eastlands Regeneration. This is after a master plan was undertaken in 2019. And I would just like to indulge you just briefly so that you understand by the context of Eastlands, and then we talk Makongeni. Eastlands occupies about 2% of the Nairobi area. But however, it is, in size, we're talking about 3,100 acres of land. It is made up of 18 old government estates. Some of them, like Makongeni, are over 100 years old. Now, what is you find in the original Eastlands master plan, it was designed for 17,000 households. So 17,000 households were occupying 3,100 acres. And now this is a city where you're talking of a major population explosion, and of course well served by infrastructure. Okay, Jogoo Road, you have Jogoo Road being the main corridor, was to see how can we come up with an urban renewal and a regeneration. Because 17,000 houses or housing units sitting on 3,100 acres, you'll agree that that is poor usage of space. And as I said, the area of Nairobi is not expanding, but more people are coming in. So the master plan is a very participatory process. We hire a consultant that goes to each and every one of these estates, talks to the people, tells them this is what this master plan entails. it will entail at some point you having to leave, and then we shall redevelop and we shall densify the area, and then you'll come back, and you'll get the first right to come back. Now, it sounds like Makongeni, because of its enormity, it's the largest of the 18 government estates. Makongeni is the largest in size. Makongeni is 139. In fact, it's 141 acres of land. 2 acres were sold to Kenya Power, where they put up a substation. So what is remaining is 139. Now, the history of Makongeni is that this is land that was transferred to Kenya Railway Pension, okay, in the year 2006. Now, on that same line, it is important because context is very important, because I think, you know, we've just started with the demolition, but there is a lot of context that has been lost. Now, this land that was transferred in 2006 to the Kenya Railway pensioners, this is probably one of the pension funds that is what you call asset rich and cash poor. They have a lot of property that they are unable to convert into cash. And why is that? So I've given you the statistics of Eastlands. Now let me come closer to Makongeni. Makongeni, we have got 3,600 single dwelling housing units. Okay? These housing units, the maximum rent they give to the pensioners is 9 million shillings a month. But it is normal, the best they are collecting at the moment is about 2 million. So you can imagine 140 acres, and the much you're able to get is only 2 million. And you have got this number of pensioners. That's why you find that our pensioners have gone into what is called old age poverty. But on one hand, they have an asset, but they're not able to sweat that asset.
So did you purchase the units from these pensioners?
Yes, so I'm coming to that. So then in the year 2018, when I was appointed as a PS, actually the first engagement that I had was with the then CEO, the late CEO of Kenya Railway Pension, because they heard about the affordable housing program. And they said they would like to offload the land in lieu of either cash or some housing units that can generate better rental.
Okay.
Because these, as I said, some of these units were built in the early 1900s, okay, when the rail arrived in Nairobi. That is how old they are. Asbestos roof, very poor condition, very poor sanitation. They were in a very bad condition. The rental they are fetching is as low as 1,000 shillings to the pension fund. So they came to government and they said, we have tried to sell this land to the private. We've been unable, and we think government is the only one that can offload this asset from us. We went in, we got a developer who was willing to compensate them. Then the deal didn't succeed. And then until this administration, where we have now the affordable housing program. So we have, again, very participatory process, sorted out the pension fund. They have got backlogs of pension payout. Majority, actually, of these railway pensioners have died, and they died poor. The ones that are left, luckily, now they have something that they can bequeath, they can inherit themselves to their children. So that is the first step. So the first person that you need to do, and there are 3 people that I want to talk about, is the pensioner, who is actually the landowner.
Okay.
So the landowner is sorted. So you won't hear any noise about the landowner.
So you talked about 3,900 units, right?
3,600.
3,600, sorry.
Yes.
And you paid out how much per unit?
Sorry? No, we bought the land.
You
so
bought the land?
The land was bought. Now, then there is a tenant.
Okay.
The pension fund rented out the units, and they have a list of tenants that they have rented out. Now, and these are the ones who are paying the 1,000, 1,300 and so on and so forth. And in fact, the tenants owe the scheme over $500 million in rental backlog, okay, over years. Now, so the pension, so there is a tenant. That's the second person that I want to talk about. And this tenant is the one that is on record at the Kenya Railway scheme, Kenya Railway pension scheme. Now, we entered into a very engaging conversation with them because we said the landowner is selling and you as a tenant will be affected. But Olive, think about it. I don't know whether you've ever had any situation where a tenant is asked to vacate and then you get paid to leave. In fact, if the most practical thing is when a tenant is leaving, the landlord will go and say, you broke this, you broke that. In fact, most of the time, the tenant pays the landlord, okay? In this case, we agreed that we are going to pay the tenant to leave. But it was not just a word of mouth.
How much notice did you give them?
A lot of notice. In fact, this conversation started last year. They were given notice last year. We then entered into, they asked, it is last year, December, around the same time. January, schools are coming and so on and so forth. Then the year again began. We delayed in having to sort them out. And also the funds were delayed. So we said, it's fine. Let's make sure that once the funds are available, and which they were, and they were sitting in a special account, we went again to the tenants and we gave them a notice. And we negotiated with them. And we told them, initially, we were going to pay them 30,000. And I want to actually acknowledge Honorable Aladwa and Honorable Imotok, the MCA, Aladwa, the MP. They came and they fought and they said, look, because of the rental these people are paying of 1,300 and odd, if they leave Makongeni, they are highly unlikely to get rental or units of the same. Even in the slums, they are paying almost 3,900 shillings. So they negotiated a very participatory process from 30,000 to 150,000, each tenant to be paid. What I can confirm to you is that the 3,600 signed a consent. I have the consent.
The tenants?
Yes, they signed. And they agreed. As soon as so they had said, oh, KCP is going on, we agreed. Because there are schools in Makongeni, let's not disrupt the school period. And once the exams were done, which finished last week, then we said, we are ready to pay you. You have 5 days to vacate, and here is your money. And we paid them. Out of the 3,600, 3,300 got paid. About 300 of them could not be paid, all right? Due to numbers in Safaricom, because we're using M-Pesa to pay them. So sometimes your number doesn't match the ID and so on and so forth. But that reconciliation has been done. And every day, like today, about 91 were paid. And they're getting sorted out. The last person that I want to talk about is what is called a subtenant. Now, the tenants themselves went and rented out a unit to another person, which is actually illegal. But we don't here talk about the legalities, because that's a reality. Because whether you have rented out that person and you're asking them to leave, you must also address their plight. And that's where the bit of noise has come in. Because in the list of Kenya Railway pension, we have the tenant who has the agreement with so that has been paid. But if you sublet and the tenant got paid and the tenant did not tell the subtenant that I was paid and you need to leave. So that's a conundrum that we found ourselves. But we said, legally, we have no obligation to the subtenant. But they are human beings. And this process has to have a human face. And equally, even them, we agreed that they are going to be paid. So as we speak...
The same 150? The
same 150. They're all going to get paid. Because what is the reason why we're paying the 150? We're paying the 150 to allow you to relocate, there's a cost, and for you to go start a life. If you look at 150,000, it's about 9 years worth of rent that we have paid you to live. So this has been a very participatory process. But just like anything else in Kenya, as you know, there is always a lot of noise. And sometimes things get lost in that noise and you don't know where the facts are.
Okay, so there's a story Brenda Wanga did yesterday.
Yes.
And some people said they spent the night in the cold because they had been told that demolitions would happen on the 5th and they happened sooner than that.
No.
And they haven't received money.
No. So, as I said, could there be people who have not been paid? Yes. There are people who have not been paid because of that. I've told you about the two issues. One is because of the verification at Safaricom. So Safaricom, if they are unable to pay you via M-Pesa, then we have to reach out to you and try and see whether there's another way of getting to pay you. Because the process of payment at Safaricom is they have got to match your number with your ID. Okay? So there is, and I mean, out of 3,600, 3,300 have been paid. Then there is the situation of the subtenants. And I also read...
So how many subtenants are we talking?
We were talking about 125 that are left. Okay? So about 125.
Subtenants.
Subtenants.
Okay.
Okay? But the list of subtenants were over 1,000. So we've already sorted out about 900, about 925. I can get you more accurate data. But we have about 125 that are left. As we speak right now, at Kenya Railway scheme, there are people working so that they can all be sorted out.
Okay.
So that is the story of Makongeni. It is not what has been reported, but actually, what has not been reported is, there is a lot of positive, stories about, people who are saying, we didn't expect to be paid as a tenant to leave. We were given enough notice. We were engaged in the process. And now, lastly, Olive, when they leave, we have done one more step. We have not just thrown them into the wilderness, because we are taking this estate because we want to redevelop it. We want to make sure that this space can accommodate more Kenyans. I've told you there is about 3,600 structures. We are going to have almost 10 times that number via the densification. I have a card here, Olive. Every one of the 3,600 tenants, okay, they got this card here, all right? They all got a card.
Can I take a look at it?
You can have a look at it. It is someone's card, so you may not need to disclose the name for privacy purposes, but that is a real card for somebody who has not collected. I just borrowed it to bring it. Okay. So now what is the purpose of that card? That card is the ticket for that tenant to come back once we finish the construction, and they have their first right to get back.
All right.
Now, not as a tenant, as a homeowner.
Okay. I have a question here from Fred Machoka, and he says, if they mean well for Makongeni residents, why not accommodate them in the finished affordable units elsewhere and then return them to Makongeni when ready?
So, the finished units are for sale. Okay? They're for sale. So, we will not be able to accommodate them in another unit, which then you have to go sell to somebody else. That's number one. Number two, the finished units that we have at the moment is actually in Mukuru at the moment. And we already have a program because we are also eradicating Mukuru slum. And we're doing it systematically. So you can't go far away into Makongeni and take the people from Makongeni and settle them in Mukuru, and at the same time, you're still trying to sort out Mukuru. That is the reason.
All right. We have some more feedback here and from Philip Kisia. Do we have it on the screen? All right. Let me just read this one out for you. Cool. The Nairobi Urban Integrated Master Plan was developed by my administration in collaboration with JICA between 2011 to 2013. He says the PS should not mislead the public. Zero government contribution.
You know, New Plan, it is true, was developed with the support of JICA. Go to my website. I have got the Eastlands Master Plan. I am the one who did it. And the Eastlands Master Plan, it was actually approved by Sonko's government in the last administration. So there is no conflict. And I don't know whether this is a competition of who did what. Okay? Or if he wants to get credit, of course he got credit because he got the process started. you know, because, you know, they did the new plan, but the new plan is a bigger plan for the entire Nairobi.
Okay.
And then out of that new plan, okay, we then zeroed in on specific master plans. So I did Eastlands master plan, I did Railway City master plan, okay, and we also did the Embakasi master plan. So we are implementing Eastlands master plan.
All right. Okay. We have another question here from Lorraine. She says, we have an SDA church in Makongeni Estate that was built in the early stages of Makongeni's existence and later renovated by His Excellency President William Ruto in the year 2022 that can accommodate 5,000 people. Up to now, we have not been served with any notice or communication. Kindly help us to get answers and where our fate is as a church.
I am aware about the SDA church. In fact, I think it is the headquarters of SDA Church is in Makongeni. And the leadership of the SDA Church is actually meeting with the Kenya Railway Pension tomorrow. Today, all the other faith-based organizations met with the Railway Pension and they've been sorted out.
All right. There's a school as well. We carried a story on Sunday. So how many are going to be affected and what is the plan with that?
There is one secondary school within Makongeni and several primary schools. Okay, so they are all going to be redeveloped. Okay, they're going to be redeveloped to accommodate more Kenyans. All right, because even as you talk about a secondary school, it is still very dilapidated, very old, and can accommodate very few people. So what are we going to get? We are going to accommodate more than 10 times the population that we have right now in Makongeni. So more Kenyans are going to benefit, okay, from this program. You're going to have better schools. We're going to have a level 4 hospital in there. We are going to have shopping centers. We are going to have playing fields. We are regenerating this into a modern city, not one that was built 100 years, that has served its purpose and has served those generations, but we must be able to align ourselves with today's pressures. As I said, you know, we are living in a space where, in a land where we have got very many people who are coming into urban areas. We have one of the highest urbanizing countries in the world, by the way. We have about 500,000 people who are moving to urban areas every year, and they have nowhere to go, and then land is very expensive in our urban areas.
All right. So what happens to those learners, though?
No, so part of the relocation is that they have got to go and relocate and look for other schools. Okay, and that's why I'm saying we have actually compensated. We have given the 150 so that they can be able, we understand that there will be new school uniform, there will be new schools that have to be gotten.
When do you break ground?
We've already awarded the contract. We have two, so Makongeni is going to be done in 5 phases, so 2 phases, the contractor is already awarded. So we are ready to start. Yeah.
All right, so you said Makongeni is just the start of this regeneration?
Yes, of the 18 estates. Of the 18 estates. So we have already, Starehe is already ongoing, is one of them. We already have Shauri Moyo A and B. I'm sure you've seen the big towers now in Shauri Moyo. And we have Jogoo Road, where we have almost another 26 acres that is already under construction. And then the rest of the estates are under the county government of Nairobi. And we are talking with the government of Sakaja, Governor Sakaja, so that we can be able to collaborate and we are able to bring in the resources and we are able to do them faster. They have already awarded, I think, one in Bahati, if I'm not wrong, but they've ran into quite a few challenges with some of the politics that is ongoing there. But Eastlands regeneration is something that is available on public portal. It is something that I would wish that every Nairobian should get and see what is the future that we are talking about. Because, Olive, this is our country, okay? It is our country. And we must determine what kind of a country we want. And we must determine what kind of a future we want to bequeath to our family. The people who built Makongeni 100 years ago had a vision and had a dream for that generation, and it served them.
All right.
We then, it is our responsibility right now to say, is it right to have 70% of our Nairobian population living in slums?
All right, I have 2 more questions.
Good.
One, there's a question about how many units are going up in Makongeni.
Okay.
And then number 2, I've been told to ask him about sewerage system. This is Lucy Kilalo.
Okay. So let me start with the sewerage one. Okay, then I'll come back to the number of units. So Nairobi, generally, we have a big problem with sewer. Okay? We have not invested in Siwa for a long time. So what is happening at the moment, you've seen the Nairobi River program that is going on, and I will wish that you can cover and also tell the Nairobi people about the beautiful things that are happening. So on Nairobi River, on both sides of the river, we are building right now 2 mega trunk systems that are going to future-proof Nairobi for 40 years. It is so big, you can actually drive a small car. That is how big we're building the trunk Siwa, okay? That is, and then we have 2 treatment plants, okay, that are part of that work. So this is not, we shall do. It is ongoing as we speak, okay? Okay. So we are fixing the Siwa. There is also another program through Africa Development Bank that is also helping us to do now the last mile to the trunk on the Siwa line. But the bigger problem for us, actually even in housing, is water. Okay, because you know we are water scarce country. Northern Collector has just hit Nairobi, and because it delayed, by the time it hit Nairobi, the problems of Nairobi had doubled. So we are working on another program so that we can be able to bring in more water. And that, when you ask me what is our biggest challenge at the moment, and that's why you heard about the president talking about an infrastructure fund. We are talking about infrastructure fund because if we don't set down the resources, we are going to run into challenges of water in Nairobi. Now, how many units are we going to do in Makongeni? Our plan is to put up 30,000 new housing units in Makongeni.
And what will it mean, this whole plan, Eastland's plan, what will it mean for their economy? In terms of the jobs created? Fantastic
question. So number one, in fact, the people that have that relocated from Makongeni, one of the other deals that we have done. So first, we've given them money. We have given them a card to leave and then come back and get the first right. And number 3, every household, okay, we have sent out the information and we want them to nominate a person from each household. They are going to get the first right to be employed because these contracts are massive contracts and they're going to require a lot of labor, both skilled and unskilled. So that is also part. So the first people that we want to get the opportunity to work are the people of Makongeni.
All right, so we'll press pause on this particular conversation and plan a time for a broader conversation, much broader conversation on affordable housing. Some of the questions that had come in already was the project being behind schedule. You were to do what, 250,000 units per year? Or?
It's not behind schedule, Olive. You know, and I've seen that question. Have you ever built a house? Just
not personally.
Not personally. So it takes time to build a house. It takes about 18 months to finish one estate, okay? So when we say 200,000, it doesn't mean that from the day we collected the levy, from that day we have 200,000, because it takes time to build. So I think context is important, but please call me when you have time, because we actually, I think the conversation has turned, because Kenyans can see the affordable housing program. It is the most significant development in almost every town in Kenya.
Okay, another quick one is, how is the levy being spent? You don't have to answer them, right? We'll have to find time to
But it is being spent very well. Oh, yes. And the money is very safe. You have not heard of any scandals.
Specifics, we'll invite you to discuss specifics.
We will do that.
And then lastly, are salaried employees going to contribute in perpetuity?
It is not expected that it's going to be in perpetuity, but we have a very big housing gap. So we still have a long way to go.
All right. Yeah. Thank you for speaking to us on The Explainer tonight and providing that explanation as far as Makongeni is concerned. We will continue to engage as we continue to cover these developments, literally and figuratively. We've had PS Charles Hinga, who is the PS for Housing and Urban Development, in studio. We take a break, but here else is what's coming up.
World Bank report shows Kenya's macroeconomic conditions have stabilized, but warns of high risk of debt distress. From the NSE, where the bell-ringing ceremony took place this morning.
3, 2, 1, come on, let's... A few minutes to 9 a.m., the trading floor of the Nairobi Securities Exchange came alive as East African Breweries PLC rang the bell to officially list the first tranche of its 20 billion shillings medium-term note program. The 11 billion shillings 5-year fixed-rate note was oversubscribed by 52%, raising 16.76 billion shillings.
The oversubscription, I think, is a mark of confidence. I think there is no doubt about that. And it's confidence on very, very many fronts. I think the first one is a country. Kenya is Kenya. Sometimes we forget that we have a very good thing going in the country, and we need to take care of that.
Under the Capital Markets Authority approved program, the bond will earn investors a fixed interest rate of 11.8%, with coupon payments every May and November.
This is not just momentum we are witnessing. I think we are witnessing a transformation story in our market. And for years, the corporate bond market has faced serious headwinds, but today's narrative is changing that.
EABL will channel the funds towards strategic investments, improving operational efficiency and supporting its expansion across East Africa, all without significantly increasing its net debt position. The company recently redeemed its 2021 bond a year early and replaced it with this more competitively priced facility.
As more high-quality corporate paper is issued, the market gains in depth, liquidity, and credibility. These are all essential ingredients of a mature liquid capital market.
We have other regulators that regulate the marketplace that would like to see a bit more predictability and a lot more forward-looking for investment, more forward-looking policies that will enhance business performance.
The bond now officially joins the NSE's fixed income securities market segment, allowing investors to trade it on the secondary market.
According to analysts, EABL's bond is more than just a financial transaction. It is a wake-up call and a timely opportunity. Now they say that if fully embraced, it could signal a new era where Kenyan companies fund their own growth using local capital. Dennis Otieno, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
Safaricom has today launched the first 15 billion shilling tranche of its 40 billion domestic note program. The issuance comes with a green shoe option of up to 5 billion if demand exceeds expectations, making it Kenya's largest green bond to date. The funds, the telco says, will support energy-efficient and low-carbon projects across its operations. The bond offers investors a 10.4% tax-free return, with applications starting from 50,000 shillings and running until December the 5th. Safaricom says the bond will expand its funding base as it accelerates long-term investments in connectivity, broadband and financial services.
Is that when Safaricom is a listed business, so we go into the market, into the stock exchange, and then we ask shareholders to contribute so that we run our business. So our shareholders hold what is called equity. Yeah, medium-term note is the other side, which is debt. So you can fund a business through equity or through debt. So you lend company money over a period of time and they pay back. So that's why it's a medium-term note. So it's a note that will be paid over the medium term. And Safaricom has led this area for a long time, but from the very beginning, from the note that was raised, I think it was 4 billion in 2001, when Safaricom was starting, when we were not this large business. So we now want to restructure or reorganize our funding so that we balance how we fund our business as we expand.
The World Bank has raised Kenya's growth outlook after the economy unexpectedly posted a stronger rebound in the second quarter than earlier projected. The bank says the surprise recovery, driven largely by construction and easing inflation, is a welcome shift at a time the government struggles to contain rising debt and persistent revenue shortfalls. With that report is Jasmine Wambui.
The latest Kenya Economic Update report by the World Bank reveals that the country's economy is performing better than previously expected. The country's growth outlook for 2025 now stands at 4.9%, an upward revision of the bank's own projection in May of 4.5%.
Q2, especially Q2 2025, represented an upward surprise for us. No? There was a faster than expected recovery in the construction sector.
The construction sector revitalized, aided by government spending on housing, as well as its efforts to clear long-standing pending bills in the roads subsector.
We did anticipate that before.
Still, the bank cautions that Kenya's fiscal position remains its biggest challenge. Revenue collections have missed targets by an average of 6.1% over the last 3 years. The fiscal deficit remains wide and public debt has climbed to 68.8% of GDP, much of it financed locally to the detriment of consumers and the private sector.
Let's remember that Kenya continues to be assessed in high risk of debt distress, and without more ambitious reforms, especially on the revenue side, debt and fiscal vulnerabilities are likely to persist.
And the labour market offers little comfort. Most new jobs continue to come from the informal sector where pay is low, and real wages have fallen by more than 10% in the last 10 years, raising questions about whether this economic growth is translating into better living conditions for Kenyans.
Good macros should be translating to money in the consumer's pocket. We note in the retail sector, consumption has really gone down. We see less consumption, we see smaller shopping baskets, we see focus only on must-buy items, which means food items will go, basic consumption items are moving, but anything that is considered a luxury good, depending on the level of income, is not moving at all.
The bank says the improved numbers provide a stronger base heading into 2026, but cautions that risks including climate shocks, global trade disruptions and political pressures could easily derail progress. Deeper structural reforms, it says, will be critical moving forward.
Austerity measures alone are not enough to deal with Kenya's fiscal and structural challenges. Additional reforms are needed. Boosting economic growth is essential also to support this sustained and growth-friendly progressive fiscal consolidation going forward.
I think we know the solutions to our country issues. We really just need to action them.
Jasmine Wambui, Citizen TV.
A very informative report there by Jasmine Wambui. Remember, you can rewatch it on all our digital platforms. Family Bank has posted its third quarter results with profits and assets rising sharply as the lender prepares for a possible listing at the Nairobi Securities Exchange next year. Dennis Otieno has more.
Family Bank recorded a profit after tax of 3.5 billion shillings in the first 9 months of 2025, a 56% increase from last year's 2.3 billion shillings. The growth was driven by higher interest income, stronger customer deposits, and continued investment in digital channels.
Over 92% of our transactions are happening digitally. And we have an aim, we have an aspiration that within no time we should be able to have 98% of our transactions happening through our digital platforms. What does that mean? We have invested heavily in our digital platforms, our mobile platforms, our internet banking, other payment solutions, collection solutions that we are giving to our customers so that we can leave our physical branches just as service and sales centers.
Total assets rose 24% to 202.5 billion shillings, while the loan book grew to 103.7 billion shillings.
Meaning in 4 years, we've managed to double the size of Family Bank from 100 to 200 billion. And during that period, we were growing at a rate of 13-14%. Within the current strategic period, you can see the numbers. We've started to see the growth getting to the ranges of 30, some parameters, 48%.
The bank says the momentum sets the stage for its planned NSE listing in 2026.
Come next year, between January to around March, we shall carry out our internal readiness assessment, our due diligence, and valuations. We therefore, in all probability, expect to commence trading Family Bank shares in the Nairobi Securities Exchange by mid next year.
Customer deposits, meanwhile, climbed to 146.8 billion shillings, reflecting rising confidence in the lender. Dennis Otieno, Citizen TV.
Business News, brought to you by Emirates.
The best holiday ever's finally over. When you fly Emirates, your holiday isn't over until your flight is over.
After the business news comes the sports news.
Absolutely, and there's a lot to get into today. We have a lot of football today, actually. We have the Kenyan Premier League, and we have a preview of some of the big games tonight in the Champions League. A couple are ongoing already, but we'll get into that after the break. APS Bomet pulls a fast one on Gor Mahia with a 4-1 win at the Nyayo National Stadium. That and more after the break.
Why do 7 out of 10 kids have cavities, sir? Because whatever this toothpaste has for cavity protection, isn't enough. Double Herbal contains clove. My mother says it contains eugenol, which is 100% effective in cavity protection. Where there's clove, there's no cavity.
Get your value pack today.
Dad, tap on Jumia app, order what you want, add to cart.
Punguza bei, weka simu ya 15,000.
Confirm. Plus, tunaweza rudisha within 7 days.
Kumbe ni rahisi hivyo.
Ai, ni Jumia bro. Wow.
Download Jumia app today.
Welcome to the Ngong Hills Open Weekend on the 6th and 7th of December 2025.
Come visit Ngong Hills prime commercial plots just off Kahara Road in Ngong Town. These plots are ideal for investors looking to develop apartments for sale or rent. We have a range of plot sizes with ready titles starting from 7 million shillings for an 1/8 acre with financing available from HFC. We have provided graded roads, drainage, sewer lines, power and water on site. Come find out more at the Open Weekend. Call us on 0769 757 767 or text Ngong to 21938. Ngong Hills. Buy, build and become a landlord.
Life is about building benchmarks to remember. Our steel isn't just about strength. It's about resilience. We're building a legacy. Our mark isn't just in the buildings we build. It's in the lives we impact, the communities we strengthen, and together we'll leave our mark on this world. MRM, shaping every Kenyan dream since 1962.
Venus unveils confidence that captivates with 5 times more hydration. Venus, inspired by nature, perfected by science.
Wezesha biashara na Absa One account. Sort biz yako with an SME loan. Download the Absa Kenya app, open an Absa One biashara account with 0 monthly fees. Absa, your story matters.
The Kenya Medical Training College is pleased to announce its 94th graduation ceremony to be held on Thursday, December 4th, 2025 at Moi International Sports Center, Kasarani from 8 a.m. Ensure you have paid the graduation fee through the Jiunge platform and pick the graduation gown from the college headquarters by 28th November at 5 p.m. The graduation book is available on the KMTC website. Visit www.kmtc.ac.ke for more information on graduation, training programs, intake and application procedures. KMTC, training for better health.
Whenever you fly to space or take your first step as baby, SoftCare always stays with you.
New SoftCare Space Series is rooted from space technology. Keeps you dry and comfortable for 12 hours long. Offers you the most effective protection during your space journey.
SoftCare. Protect your leap.
On Saturday, December 6, all roads lead to the Great Chepsaita Cross-Country Run, the run for education. This isn't just a race, it's a celebration of endurance, community, and opportunity. We run to support education and open doors for young learners, so lace up, show up, and run for the cause. Join us in Chepsaita, where champions are made.
Baadaye auntie.
Mkuu, umetufikisha home poa. Asante. Pia wewe pata kakitu ikufikishe home.
Nunua any 280-gram Cadbury Dairy Milk Packs ama Cadbury Drinking Chocolate. Visit cadbury.africa or uandikie someone special your heartfelt message ya kumshow thanks. T's and C's apply. Cadbury, there's a glass and a half in everyone.
Wezesha biashara na Absa One account. Sort biz yako with an SME loan. Download the Absa Kenya app, open an Absa One Biashara account with 0 monthly fees. Absa, your story matters.
I'm not just a dreamer. I'm your thank you from the future. I'm that possibility, sparking from the chance you gave to that child. Mimi kesho yako, uliniwezesha mimi kusimama imara. You gave me a place to stand, and I moved the world. Mimi ndiye kesho.
Together, we are creating citizens of the future by transforming education in Kenya.
I'm a citizen of the future.
Boresha mazao ya shamba lako na mbolea ya mavuno. Mchanganyiko wetu speshali wenye virutubishi 12 muhimu unaongeza rutuba ya mchanga, hurekebisha asidi na kusawazisha pH kwa mazao yenye afya. Tofauti na mbolea nyingine zinazochoma udongo wako, mavuno inafanya kazi na mchanga wako kudumu kwa muda mrefu na kwenye hali zote za hewa. Ili kupata mavuno mengi, chagua Mavuno. Imethibitishwa kuongeza mavuno kwa zaidi ya 30% wakati wa mvua fupi.
It's hard to tell what's real these days.
Ground control, this is Orbiter 1. We have a green light to go, Roger. Okay,
At least there's one thing that's still real. Del Monte fruit juice. Now celebrating 60 years of real.
in the cancer fight, precision is power. RFH Radiotherapy uses advanced techniques like VMAT and IMRT to deliver a focused dose to cancer cells, protecting healthy tissue, reducing side effects, and speeding your recovery. See the target. Treat it with accuracy. RFH Radiotherapy. Destroy the disease.
Since when did you become a bloodthirsty person?
What do you mean, Robert?
You want me to spell it out for you?
Welcome Naivas Kikwetu to your home this year. Tunasherekea customers wetu Kikwetu kila siku.
Welcome back, I'm Emmanuel Ndungo. Let's get into the sports news now. Record Kenya Premier League champions Gor Mahia FC paid a heavy price for tinkering with its lineup, losing by the biggest margin in more than a decade. Gor Mahia lost 4-1 to newcomers APS Bomet in an entertaining match at the Nyayo National Stadium. Despite taking an early lead in the first half, Gor Mahia conceded 2 late goals to come into the halftime break trailing 2-1. Having made 7 changes from the regular team, coach Charles O'Connor made 5 changes in the second half, but Bomet were very effective in long balls that caught the Gor Mahia backline napping. The loss comes barely a week before Gor take on their arch rivals AFC Leopards in the Mashemeji Derby this Saturday at the Nyayo National Stadium.
Ansel bado Ansel! Jones samakataa kwanza. Lawrence Kibet sasa inaletwa nje. Wonder! Ansel is a joy to us. Ansel Ochieng. Inapiga pass pembeni kwa Rogers Kipkemoi sasa. Rogers Kipkemoi!
The Junior Stars Under-17 national team's critical tie against host Ethiopia has been brought forward by a day, giving the Stars a day less for recovery ahead of the crucial match. Both teams have qualified for the semi-finals of the Under-17 Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers and will meet in the final Pool A match to determine the group winners. The Junior Stars had a good outing on Monday afternoon, blanking South Sudan 2-0 to remain unbeaten in the group. Coach William Muluya now says they have to adjust their program to allow the boys enough rest and recovery ahead of the match. The coach is concerned about the team's defence, which he says he must strengthen moving forward. The key to success in the match will be full focus, even as he rests some players with the semi-finals in mind.
Then again, it goes to the mentality, because now it's the knockout stage, 90 minutes for everyone. So whoever gives the match needed, because we might be equal in tactics, but whoever has the strong mentality will emerge. Ethiopia, a very strong side, a side that possesses the top scorer of the tournament, a side that has the home-based fans basically backing them.
Moving on, Kenya clinched yet another silver medal at the 2025 Summer Deaflympic Games, with veteran deaf athlete David Kipkogay finishing second in the men's marathon race. The 46-year-old finished the race in 2 hours, 17 minutes and 30 seconds to finish behind Sweden's Otto Kingstedt, who claims the gold medal in 2 hours, 16 minutes and 10 seconds. Colombia's Jose Lobado won the bronze medal. In the women's marathon, Kenya did not make the podium as Sarah Kimani and Grancy Kandagor dropped out of the race. Kenya has an impressive medal tally of 15, 5 gold, 6 silver and 4 bronze. Let's have a look.
Because this is my first time, I had the goal of getting a gold medal, but I experienced some leg cramps. But I did try my best, I pushed myself, and I'm happy that I've gotten a silver. I thank God so much.
The national women's football team, the Harambee Starlets, have concluded their training sessions ahead of 2 crucial friendly matches against host Algeria in Bilda. The first match on Wednesday evening will kick off at 7 p.m. East Africa time at the Mustafa Thacker Stadium. This is the first outing for the Kenya team since qualifying for the 2026 Women Africa Cup of Nations. Coach Beldine Odemba has blended experience with youth in her team, hoping to give some of the youngsters from the under-17 and under-20 teams some game time. The second friendly match, also against Algeria, will be played in Algeria.
AFCON ndio hiyo iko mbele yetu next year. Sisi kama Starlet tuko ready, tutapambana venye sisi tunapambana daily. Haitakuwa rahisi, but teamwork makes dream work. Sisi wote tukishikana pamoja na Wakenya, dua zenyu, kila kitu itakuwa fine.
Training tumepewa na coaches, tomorrow tunaenda kupata the points for the first match and the second match. Na tuna believe training iko juu, kila kitu iko juu. Players wako na hiyo mood ya game. Na apart from the weather, najua tunaenda ku make it tomorrow.
International football now. The European Champions League continues tonight with 9 matches lined up. Manchester City host Bayer Leverkusen, while Chelsea will be at home to Barcelona. Chelsea has been boosted by the return of Cole Palmer to training, though he will not feature in tonight's match. After not playing for Chelsea since September 20th, the England international was nearing a return from a groin injury when he fractured the little toe on his left foot in a freak accident at home last week. Chelsea lie 12th in the Champions League table with 7 points from 4 games, the same return as Barcelona, who are 1 place ahead of them in 11th with a superior goal difference. Olive Burrows, have you ever stubbed your toe on something so hard that you broke a toe?
No, I haven't.
That's what happened to Cole Palmer, unfortunately, last week. So he won't be featuring for a little bit more, recovering from that groin injury. But that's the sports that we have today.
Who is Cole Palmer?
Cole Palmer. He's a top Chelsea player, a really key Chelsea player that we've been missing for a little while.
So he plays in what position?
Around in that midfield area, yeah. So attacking midfield. So yeah, he's been very central to us. But when we have him back, we can take on Arsenal, I think.
All right. So there we have it. Emmanuel Ndungu, Chelsea fan clearly, as well as Jeff Koinange, who is also a big Chelsea fan. That concludes The Explainer tonight. I've been your host, Olive Burrows. Our sign language interpreter has been Joki Shege.
And my name is Emmanuel Ndungu. I was reading the sports for you today, and we'll see you in a few days.
Good night.